All right. We are back here at Song of the Day, coming to you from the Rock Cave. I'm your host, Mark Pierce. As usual, it is Thursday, February 18th. Hope you're all doing well today. How'd you do with Babel yesterday? Did anyone listen to Babel for the first time from Wanderlust Wednesday? I hope you checked it out. Some good stuff there. If you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do that. All right, what are we talking about today? Well, it's not so much of an anniversary of a release date today because this album was released earlier, but it still was in the top 10, and I'm talking about it today. So we're going back to this week in '92 when this album was still sitting strong in the top 10, but was released November 18th, 1991. We're talking about the band U2 and Achtung Baby, right? Their 7th studio album, and it debuted at number 1. Now, first and foremost, U2. Two kinds of people in this world, the kind that like U2 and the kind that don't, right? I think that's the case. I know, I live with one who does not. So, what's up with that? I got to admit, the first U2 song I loved was New Year's Day, because I had MTV in 1982 and I really liked that. And then for years I was a fair weather U2 fan. I just thought they were all right. I was not a huge fan of those albums that came out. Unforgettable Fire, Joshua Tree. I mean, they weren't my thing at the time. The fact of the matter is, now as I revisit those albums, I love a lot of those songs. I love a lot of those songs now, way more songs than I could have ever guessed. I guess I just wasn't ready at the time. But this album was different for me. It's the first album I loved by U2, and yet so many people were so mad about this record, weren't they? So what's the story with that? Again, their 7th album. Remember, they're coming off of 1988's Rattle and Hum. And Rattle and Hum was this experimental album in American roots music, accompanied with a film. A lot of it was live, right? They really got railed by the media, just saying they were just too full of themselves that they would take on such things with B.B. King. I don't know. I mean, the album sold great, but they didn't. The fans, the critics. A lot of people didn't like that. So, what they decide to do? Well, they decide to write a dance record, is what they called it. I don't know if I call this a dance record, but it was being called a dance record. And so people were getting really nervous that U2 was just, now they were going to do what? A dance record? One of the songs they wrote for Rattle and Hum was actually towards the end of the process when they realized what they had gotten themselves into. And that is actually one of my favorite songs by them, God Part 2. God Part 2 is an awesome song from Rattle and Hum, and it sounds like it could have been on this album. And so if you don't know God Part 2, you got to check that out. But they change these directions. They hire their producers. Brian Eno is one of them. They say they want to do a different musical direction. This was a long and arduous process. If you read about the recording of this album, it goes on and on and on. Treat yourself if you'd like. But this is a long story about traveling to different areas, arguing with producers, arguing with each other, not being able to figure out what direction they're going in with the music and the guitar licks and everything else. Eventually, obviously, they all figure it out, but it was a struggle. The first single that comes off this record is The Fly in October, okay? They did not release this album ahead of time for the press to review it. They didn't want the press to influence what people thought of it, so they only gave advance copies a few days before the release, and they didn't really do any interviews at all after the release. They wanted their album to speak for itself. I remember when The Fly came out, I had heard a song somewhere along the way, and I wanted that song, and I bought this song on a casingle. Remember those casingles? I bought The Fly, put it in, and it was not the song I had wanted. The Fly, interesting first single. It didn't do very well in the United States. I guess I didn't really care for the song at the time either. It only went to number 61 in the United States, but it was number 1 in the UK, and it hit elsewhere. But it did come out with 5 singles in total from this record, and the rest of the singles did quite well, and we'll talk about those in a minute. The CD, when it came out, who remembers, it was one of the first CDs to ever come out from a major act in one of those eco-friendly packaging. Remember, it was all cardboard, which was annoying because over time it would wear and tear. We wanted our good old landfill filling plastic back, didn't we? Then again, I think, were people mad when they got rid of the long box? I don't remember if people were mad when they got rid of the long box, but anyway, I know it was a big deal for record stores to convert and easier to pilfer without the long box. I digress. Okay, so I remember loving this record. I bought the CD, and there's a lot of really good songs on here. The track listing will start off with Zoo Station, Even Better Than the Real Thing, One, Until the End of the World, Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, So Cruel, The Fly, Mysterious Ways, Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World, Ultraviolet, Acrobat, Love is Blindness. Yeah, there's a lot of good songs on here. So I tell you what, that's the only song I don't like that was played on the radio and I still don't like is Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses. I don't know. I was never a fan of that song. I don't know why. It's not my jam. Someone out there probably likes it, I'm sure, but that's my least favorite one. Of course I liked One, and I liked Mysterious Ways as far as singles were concerned. I really enjoyed those songs, but the ones that I listened to the most by far are Even Better Than the Real Thing, So Cruel, and Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World. And Until the End of the World, they said. That's the other one. So those are all the songs that I really, really liked, a lot. This is a great record. Now, I know a lot of people hate on U2, and then the next record that came out, I mean, we saw this tour. Was it this tour or Zooropa? We saw the Zooropa tour, but anyway, that next album that came out, that one went in a different direction as well, and I didn't care as much for that. But when we saw U2 at Foxborough Stadium in the light rain, it was a good show. Got to admit, it was a good show. All right, song of the day. Well, I'm gonna post some songs down there, but I think I'm gonna have to do "So Cruel" as my song of the day. That one sticks out a lot for me as far as this record is concerned. So Cruel, U2, love them or hate them. That's your song of the day. Open it up for discussion. Tell me your stories down below. Love to hear from you. Tomorrow, Octane Friday, gonna be a good one. So stay tuned. We're at 8 minutes. Enjoy your day. Listen to some YouTube or don't. Have a good one. And as usual, I'll catch you on the flip side.